Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Valley Vibes. Today we have a very special edition of the show. We have the mayor of Utica, Mike Galime, with us. He's going to be discussing everything from the Utica Harbor to downtown development to Bag Square East, Bag Square West, and all the good stuff that's going on in Utica. So thank you so much for joining us. And Mike, how are you today? So we're back, and we're discussing the harbor, the history of the harbor. Mike, what you did with your administration to move things forward to get to where we are today and where we're going to be tomorrow.
So this started many, many moons ago. I remember being a kid before it was even transferred to Utica. There was a barge in the harbor. The Utica Symphony Orchestra Pops were playing. The band Holiday, which happened to be my dad's band, was playing on that barge. And they had this big party. I don't even think I was a teenager yet. So this had to be like early 90s. But they just rolled out the fact that the city is going to redevelop this harbor. So that's been ingrained in my mind since I was a kid.
I think all of ours.
Right. Then 2008 happens. The property actually was transferred to the Local Development Corporation, which now is the Harbor Point Local, the LDC, right? That's what everyone talks about. And that's when it all began officially. 2008 was Rufaro, actually. Okay. Fast forward to me becoming council president. That's Paul Mary administration. I'm council president. We did a lot of work through the city, partnering with National Grid, state funds, city bonds. A lot has gone into the fact that even though a lot of it was grant funded, we had to put up the money and figure out how to finance those things, rebuild the harbor walls, make sure that National Grid and every other entity that was involved did all the proper dredging and prepared everything for public use again. Now, you said, hey, what's your, let's fast forward to your administration. 2024 in January, weren't ready to open yet. We had trouble with land transfers, how to actually move the components of the harbor into the actual city of Utica. Shortly before I took office, I was on the board of E&A, council president. ARPA funding, actually directed by the city, built the promenade. That's where the party is tonight, by the way. It's on that promenade. Oh, it's phenomenal. The harbor walls kicked that off. That had to be like 2016, 2017 time frame when we started working on it.
Construction.
Yeah, a lot of that was phenomenal. But let's talk vision here. Let's talk what's going on tonight. It's the grand opening. Literally has not been open until today. This is the unveiling of not just a waterfront, but it's an entire existence that
It's a new ecosystem.
it just doesn't even, it's transcending a new reality. If you walk down to the waterfront, you walk down the dock with the kayak launch and you stand on that water, it sounds different. It feels different. You're on a body of water in the middle of Utica. Now, we've had the marina for years.
Sure.
It was Kitty's. It was Aquavino. Now it's Portofino. I launched my boat, docked it there, went to dinner, and took my boat to Sylvan Beach and back. Okay, from that marina, this is different. Okay, if you picture Old Forge, right, you got that pond.
Yep.
This is enormous. So think vision now. Tonight we're going to have food trucks. We're going to have a band shell with multiple bands. Children's Museum is here. The Utica Zoo is going to be here. We're going to have an e-bike manufacturer demoing e-bikes. The Saranac, we're going to have Saranac Beer Tent, okay? This is a party for the grand opening.
Party for Utica.
This is launching the fact that this is the place to be. It's yet another amenity, but it's something so differentiating. What we're picturing here isn't just the kayaks on the water. Think about it all coming together, right? You've got waterfront. You have access for canoes, kayaks. Next year, we get the boat launch. People keep talking about the fact that the lock isn't operational. Well, guess what? One, we could do all kinds of stuff on the harbor itself, but it also has a direct connection to the Mohawk. So if you're launching that fishing boat, you can get onto the Mohawk, right? So it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, it has made a difference in many other communities. I mean, you talk about the Inner Harbor saved Baltimore.
Right. And that's what I picture, by the way, in my head when I see that.
Baltimore in the harbor. Yeah.
Combine Myrtle Beach, like a Murrells Inlet, with the Baltimore Harbor. People say, oh, this is just Utica. No, no, no. That is what's happening.
Well, it's just like anything else. If you ever been to San Antonio, the Riverwalk.
Oh, yeah, I have been.
That
phenomenal.
Made San Antonio. People
Absolutely.
love the waterfront, and businesses flourish there.
100%.
So that being the case, there's a lot of secondary and tertiary benefits of doing this. It's true economic development, and it's aesthetics development.
Well, and a lot of people are like, why did you open it now? I get it. You figured out the land transfer. You figured out how to get the property into the city's hands. You worked out the financial issues that were going on so that it could be transferred to the city. Because if you don't open the harbor when it's ready, which it is, you can't market the harbor.
And you have a short growing season anyway.
If you don't have people in the harbor, they can't see not just the vision, but the reality of what it is now.
You need those drone shots. Tonight.
Exactly. And then here's the other thing. We're standing and sitting on Restaurant Road at night, right?
100%. We're in one.
We're in one of the very restaurants that could be in the old row house building, the boathouse building.
I think there's an opportunity for that to happen.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Sal is around the building somewhere. We may have him join us later on.
Okay.
Maybe he'll give us an update.
Well, so the reality is, though, we're ready to go. Everyone's going to see it tonight. And it doesn't stop there. July 3rd, the Albany Symphony will be on the harbor for the 200th anniversary of the canals.
Beautiful thing.
You know, this is just launching a situation where we can work with the Utica school system, and maybe they can have a crew team now. They can have rowing right in Utica.
Interesting.
Right? All the things that I did going...
And Utica College?
Right. Yeah, 100%.
SUNY?
All of the things I did going up on the canal on Barnes Ave, going up to Hinckley when I was a kid, you can walk to that now if you're a Utican. It's right in the middle of the city.
It is, and of course, the promenade is so nice to walk anyway. Like, you're giving people another place to go and have quality of life things. They can walk, they could sit, they can enjoy the wildlife. You're not that far from Utica Marsh.
You're not?
And that could be a tie-in eventually.
Well, it is a tie-in now. So that canal trail, if you get on that canal trail, you get there.
Okay.
You get there now. That's both sides of Genesee Street. The next step is the Loop the Harbor Trail. We've already got some of the Roadrunner groups asking, when can we have an actual run around the harbor? So it's happening. It's happening.
Almost reason to divert the Boilermaker.
Well, listen, the Boilermaker will never move.
No.
The Boilermaker will never be diverted because it will have to start where it starts and end where it ends. But there's a lot of other things, a lot of new things we could do.
It was tongue-in-cheek.
But I'm with you. There's other things we can divert.
Well, I love
year.
the idea of having, in Albany, they do First Fridays. And First Fridays would be great down there to have a different band, maybe different DJs, whatever, on Friday nights during the growing season here, which, you figure May 1st through September.
Well, the other thing, too, we do a lot of events here. And again, a lot of these events that I might bring up probably will never move. And I'm not trying to displace anything, but I want people to picture it, right? Think of the Taste of Lebanon. Okay. Well, now picture that on the promenade, looping the harbor. That would be unreal, right? So something like that. That's what I want people picturing.
Yeah, well, it's just another gathering place. It's an outdoor gathering place. The same way the Nexus Center is one kind of gathering place. The auditorium is another. This is a outdoor space that can be common and can be used and can house those kind of things. It's great. Love it. So tonight, if you're around and you're available, I believe there is a shuttle bus from
So here's how it's going to work
Center.
tonight. If you park at the Nexus Center, every 20 minutes, Central Bus is sponsoring a loop to the harbor. Nice. So every 20 minutes, there'll be a shuttle. Bands all start at 5. There'll be some, I believe we're doing a ribbon cutting, if you will, because this is planned in part, by the way, with Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
So Carrie Paleo has been integral in, her group getting this together. They actually went after a grant for this. Received a grant, they partnered with us, and then our IDA partnered with them so that we can really bolster the event.
Leveraging those dollars.
Yeah, leveraged it completely.
Love it.
Yeah. So 5 to 8, it's going to be phenomenal. Yeah.
It's great. So make sure you go down to the harbor tonight if you have that opportunity. Definitely worth it. So we've got Mike here for a little bit longer time. We're going to ask him some more questions about what's happening in Utica.
Let's get to it.
You've talked a lot, Mike, about Utica being more than Genesee Street. And
Absolutely.
And the western gateway you and I have spoken of several times is important because it's on a major thoroughfare. People coming into Utica need to get the right impression. And I think the harbor does that here on this end specifically.
Yes.
So on the western end, there is some development. Of course, full disclosure, I'm involved with some of it. But
it's part of the discussion because not only is it the western gateway to the city, people don't really think about the close proximity to Utica University. Okay.
Very much so.
And that's the tie-in there. You've got literal Utica University up the street from Erie Street and Oriskany Street. You have all of the suburbs coming into on the way to the hospital, on the way to the brewery district, on the way downtown, on the way to where we're sitting right now, and that's that feeder.
Well, that's motivating a lot of interest in the condo project that we're involved with.
Yes, absolutely.
At the Dunlop building.
So tell us the name of that condo project.
It's the River Lofts.
Okay.
And it is not on the verge of completion, but very far along. The third floor, which is the first one that was targeted, is just about all framed out. And there's 2 whole apartments there that are done. There are 2 townhouses that are done on the first floor. The commercial space is being worked on. So yeah, we're excited. And we have, if you're interested, folks, in that kind of living, indoor parking.
I don't want to turn host here, but I wanted to hear about it from you, right?
Yeah, that's something. Indoor parking year round, 1,400 square feet to 1,600 square feet each unit. A normal unit comes with one bath, full bath, 1 half bath, and 2 bedrooms. Loft is available if you'd like it. Add a mezzanine, which is a nice, really nice piece. It's
in a phenomenal building, by the way.
Oh, the bones. The bones of the building are just incredible. We're talking about wood beams that are so thick and pointed with brass.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal.
It really is. And you'll have those in your condos. And the other thing is that we have radiant heat in all of the facilities and your own heat pump and all that. So it's very ecological, the setup.
Well, so let's talk about the setting, right? Oriskany Street. We're not talking 15, 20 years ago, Oriskany Street, right?
Nope.
Now we've got the fitness mill. We have multiple restaurants. You got Willie's Bagels.
Yep.
That strip is phenomenal. Fahey Kitchen, Rasmussen
and
Rents.
it should be vibrant
Meldrum Paint.
There from the hospital down.
And here's the reality. It is right now. It's a whole different district over the last 10 years. We've got our, if you want to talk about municipal sites for a second, right? We had a huge debate over complete streets a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, the 2 places I had my sights set on for if we're going to do something with, say, complete streets or reconstruction or pedestrian connectivity, it's Oriskany Street, exactly where you're talking about, and North Genesee Street, where we are right now, which that's underway as we speak.
That makes a lot more sense than going up and making Genesee Street 1 lane.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So if we're going to take a neighborhood that's up and coming, established, becoming more pedestrian, becoming way more modern, think about Fitness Mill, right? You got a new plaza, River Lofts, big city, almost like a Manhattan style living down the street from a university. That's where you want to start thinking about that kind of
with a really nice
connectivity.
courtyard in a commercial area, which we're going for. I want to say food court, not because I want you to think of it as a food court, but I want you to think of several different purveyors where you can get a coffee and a croissant, sit down, do your work. Then if you want lunch, you get up and you get fresh mozzarella.
So I'm going to throw something out there.
Yeah.
Have you been to Crystal City?
No, I haven't been to
Arlington, Virginia.
I have not been there.
All these high rises. At the base of every high rise, underground in some of them, right? Basement level is exactly what you just said. All right.
Well, we're going to have it.
And it's phenomenal.
We're actually talking to, and I let the cat out of the bag a little bit here. We're talking to people like Boyd Bissell at Heidelberg to come in and to run the cafe part of it, and then other folks. So
interesting. Yeah. So where do you want to wander next?
Let's go to Varick Street.
Okay.
Because it's timely also. Varick Street for me has always been kind of this hard thing to get my mind around, because I understand that it's always been an entertainment district and it's by the brewery and it's driven by the brewery, and I understand all of that. What I never understood is why we couldn't get the restaurant connectivity to go with the bar connectivity, other than the bars may have had some reputations and stuff that people didn't want to be next to. So I think focusing on how to get rid of those, how shall I say it, connotations about Varick Street.
I think it's messaging.
Yeah.
It's realizing that Saranac Thursday isn't a thing anymore, and that's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because the brewery did something wicked cool with the beer garden.
Absolutely.
By the way. And not for anything, outdoor bands are now at the Celtic Harp on the same evening, right? I post about it all the time. Now, the restaurant thing, I want to talk about that for a minute. I coach a Little League baseball team, okay, with Captain Holt and Lieutenant Curley. And you'll see us after games, sometimes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, at Lucan's with the kids, eating pizza. Just this week, we were at One Arabian Night, Marib, eating unbelievable Yemeni food, okay? A couple weeks ago, my family and I on a Saturday went to Zina's.
I love Zina's.
So here's the thing, right? We actually have some real serious restaurants down there, and I'm lumping Lucan's into that, right? People just think pizza. Oh, man, look at the menu. I'm down there getting...
They have a diverse menu.
It's very diverse.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'm down there getting great Caesar salads. Sometimes I'm having a panini. And, yes, sometimes on Thursdays I'm getting 75-cent wings. They do that, by the way, on Thursdays.
You're about 75-cent wings.
Which sounds crazy.
Those of us of a certain age.
Yeah, which sounds crazy.
A
but let me
quarter
tell you
wings
something.
at Cavallo's was the thing, right?
Right, right. But right now, 75-cent wings, that's a real thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I think...
So the connotation, right?
Right. So how do you get rid of that? Because I know what's out there, right? So maybe is there something that aesthetically to do in terms of maybe some greenery, some things in there?
So the city did just put multiple $1 million into Varick Street, right? People keep saying, hey, what can we do to Varick Street? And while I was not leading those projects at the time, because I was not mayor when that was implemented, the city made a large investment in Varick Street, which did change the look and feel in a good way. We just had a big meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, okay, the Greater Utica Chamber of Commerce. It was an early morning meeting. We had almost every single business and property owner in that room. I mean, it was a standing room only. And we had a real frank discussion about things that they want to see improved. But then we also had a discussion on the real look and feel of Varick right now from a perspective of an outsider or an insider. And this is the interesting thing. We sat there and said, how are we going to deal with the safety aspect? How are we going to deal with the look and feel? What are we going to do about the fact that we need more? Like, they were listing everything, right? And everyone was in the room. But then a couple people raised their hand and said, hey, just so everyone's aware, when we're giving tours of new residents at the hospital and people who are in from out of town, they come down to Varick Street and they're like, wow, your city has an awesome bar district. And there's a ton of restaurants in it. And that's literally what they're saying. So we have to also temper the fact that we live through the ebb and flow, but Varick Street's been on a very long ramp up, right? Everyone keeps saying over and over, and let's get back to what was going on with Saranac Thursday. But what's going on right now is pretty awesome. What's going on right now is pretty awesome.
Saranac Thursday was pre-pandemic. And I think that there's people, listen, the pandemic did change people's habits a big deal, a great deal.
Right, and now we have to figure out how to, as a business district, corral those. So one of the ideas that came out of that meeting from one of the proprietors that was in the room was, why are we not all getting together? Because the city's literally sitting with us right now saying, do it. And instead of some crazy event like a St. Patrick's Day where it's all kinds of crazy overtime and all this different stuff and coordination and SWAT teams, et cetera. Why aren't we just doing something more simple, like when they would have jazz on Bank Place and block off both ends of the street?
Do a block party.
Exactly, block party.
Yeah.
Right? We need a couple block parties. The business owners are now talking about it. There's a buzz. And that's I think, a big way of how it's going to...
festivals, maybe.
Exactly.
Like we talked about, you know, I wanted to do an Italian-American club there in one of the... in the old True Value building there, the one that Dominic has.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The island. Yeah.
And we weren't able to come to a deal, but it doesn't matter. That space and that angle, that corner, with the nice brick that the city put in there, it looks really nice. I would love to see that carried through Varick Street.
Right. So the other piece of this is, right, the recognition that whether you want to keep your business and run it, see it go to your kids, sell, or partner and develop, everyone has the same interest. Varick Street has to be successful. In order for it to be successful, all of the businesses need to be working together, and those businesses need to be working together with the city. And we all came together last Thursday and discussed just that. And it's not just a police presence. It's how do we work together to do that block party?
Well, the public safety, right, that is the perception issue, right? That happens. You know, in a lot of cities, they've used horseback.
All kinds of different stuff. I'm actually pulling something up on Facebook because it's kind of funny. We're talking about this. You know, I do this every once in a while. And this is a night we were down there after a baseball game, right? There it is, right? That's a Thursday. Posing with two police officers right on the street. And I said, live music on Varick. Thursday's hot. Let's get down there. And the reality is, I wasn't down there drinking on a Thursday night. No. We were getting pizza with the kids. That's that restaurant piece. Right?
Yeah, well, I think a collective... See, but changing perceptions is important, and that requires a marketing angle. Like, there has to... Right. But the concerted effort of the folks who own there and rent there, I think, is extremely important.
Yes.
The chamber involvement there would be extremely important. I personally...
They hosted that meeting, by the way.
Excellent. Yeah. My suggestion is bring in Pratt Institute and maybe get some art down there. Get some pieces, commission some pieces to be put down on Varick Street for a display. If you're going to make it more walkable, make it walkable and make it appealing.
Absolutely, but there's another piece of that too. Now, you remember the band Charlie, right?
Of course.
Right. So this was probably 20 years ago. When Sickenburger opened, we were the first band to play there. And it was on the night of my sister's prom. My sister played saxophone with us. And
nice prom night.
I remember calling my sister. I said, listen, Michelle wants us to play opening night of Sickenburger Lane. And she was like, I will just show up in my prom dress and play it. The vibe that was broadcast from all of the actual bar owners and restaurant owners was so positive, it was unreal. We didn't want to play Varick Street because we were going to make it at the door or because it was hot, or it was the vibe. So that was one of the other things we talked about corralling again. The fact that, yeah, we always can improve things. There's always some aspect of what can be made better, but, and I'm going to use the term blinders in a good way, right? Every single person that went down to Varick 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, almost had blinders on. I'm going to tell a real frank story here, right? And I talked about it at that meeting we had. When my band was tearing down on Varick Street one night, and it wasn't Sickenburger, it was another one, 3 a.m, we lost our bass player because he was hammered, okay?
Happens.
It happens, right? And the reality is we had to walk through a literal, like, crack house to find him. Okay. The second thing, someone started a fight with us while we were loading our equipment into our van. Okay. And the reality is, everyone just looked through that and was like, yeah, but it's awesome down here. Now, I'm not saying those things weren't horrible, right? And those aren't things we need to fix. And the reality is now today, there's way less of that on Varick Street. And I know that from experience because I was on Varick Street going to Battle of Bands when it was Lily's. Okay, when I was in junior high school. Okay, then it was Electric Company for many years. And then now as an adult who isn't playing out currently, I should say, because I'll probably be playing out again at some point. I've seen all those different iterations of Varick Street, and right now, I personally think Varick Street is poised in the best way it's ever been.
Well, I mean, let's hope that it is, because I think Utica needs it to be vibrant. It's close to the West Utica corridor that we talked about, and it's easily accessible, like you said, right near the university. And it needs to be vibrant.
And you know what? You've got the other ancillary stuff around directly Varick Street, Polish community.
They're doing an amazing job.
Unreal job.
Their Thursday nights,
I'm a member, by the way.
Their Thursday nights are great. I mean, they open to the public, and you go to your pierogies and your glumpkies. And
it's phenomenal. Stuff. You can join their beer club, and you got all the Polish beers on the wall. Beer, yeah, exactly.
The ethnic opportunities here in Utica, really to sample the best of the ethnicities, is amazing.
Well, and everyone has that piece that's so real, right?
Genuine.
The Polish Community Club has the Copernicus Society. That's the real deal. Like the astronomer, right?
The astronomer.
And it's an old school, been around forever.
Named a crater after him.
What's that?
Named a crater after him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The Copernicus.
Same thing with Irish Cultural Center. There's that real piece of Irish history.
Which is why I wanted to bring the Italian Cultural Center down there.
Why not? And listen, MVLA also has their sights set on it. Very similar situation. And it's just, that's why I say it's poised. And it's not just poised. If you go down there right now, it is safe, right? It is safe. Because safe, one, is very subjective. But the reality is...
It is subjective. I think that...
I think the perception now that's out there, people think it's way worse than it is. Let me tell you something.
Isn't that usually the case, though?
Of course it is.
It's mountains, molehills, all the time.
But post-COVID, you talked about the pandemic. Yeah. It's hard to break down those barriers.
Very hard. Society, I made a post on Facebook the other day, and I was half kidding, but when I thought about it, I don't think the world has ever recovered from it. Like, I don't think we're ever got back to the fidelity that we had in one another and since COVID. I think...
Here's where I see it. The society that went through it, I don't know that they'll recover from it. Some of us will. I'm still out until 2 a.m.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not anymore, but that's not because of that. I'm just tired.
But the younger kids that are growing up now, they're charting a new path, right? The kids who were in kindergarten when it happened, they're growing up, and they didn't have to experience.
They didn't have their faucets shut off on them.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching a whole new generation of people who want to be out there.
Well, that's good because people need connectivity. We know that.
Absolutely.
And so the city is being connected in different areas. The harbor, downtown,
let's talk about that for a minute, right? I know we might have just a few seconds left here.
Good.
All right, so business development, right? That's been the refocus of our urban and economic development team. Okay, what we're doing right now is we're putting together business development decks for the Uptown District, for Varick Street, for Oneida Square, for Bag Square East-West, for the harbor, for all of the different even residential mixed-use neighborhoods. We're focusing on each and spending time putting together actual business development decks with traffic counts, with who's currently invested, the property owners, partnering with getting information from banks. And the reality is, we want to launch an actual investor conference in Utica. That's going to happen.
Why not? We're in the middle of the state. We should.
Not just why not. We are. That is a project we're working on out of our business development department.
Now, you mentioned about leveraging. That is so smart because you're leveraging the geographic proximity of Utica.
Right.
Okay. Because I've always said this is one of the reasons we're seeking the hotels. And of course the Star Report tells us we don't have enough hotels here.
Yeah,
we need more hotels.
Which, by the way, 2 more hotels are coming.
Here. Yes.
Property just closed yesterday. It is happening. It's phenomenal. There's also townhouses. There's a little poster board out there right now that says coming 2027. That's when it's going to happen. And like you said, it's almost like we can't have enough hotels. It's a phenomenon, but it's also a good problem to have.
And we'll have just about every strata at that point. You know, when they put theirs in, hopefully we get what we have going on in the Belmont building. And you'll have your, 2 to 4 to 4.5 stars to luxury. And that is something that I think really makes Utica viable, because now with the new hospital and with the Nexus Center and all of the different attractions that we have here, people are coming here. And now we need to accommodate them in the style that they're used to.
Absolutely.
So a lot of initiative, a lot of inertia going forward here in Utica. And we're happy to have you back anytime, Mike, and talk
100%.
about it. If there's something that you need to share, a break, or you need something, you always have a spot on this podcast.
All right. We'll definitely be back. Thank you.
Sounds good. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back since my guest host just pulled in from Rochester.
Did you bring back a Tahoe's plate?
See, now you guys are behind the scenes because we'll be back for our
Yeah, it's all
next
good.
segment.
There we go.
All right.
All right.
Mike, thank you.